All right, welcome back to another fun, great movie killers. This week we're going to one of the more well-known time-traveling movies.
Back to the Future?
Oh, not as fun as that one. This has 5 different movies in a TV series.
Did you alter the timeline?
There's multi-timelines in this one.
Are they all altered? There can
Think
only be one set of movies. Terminator.
Oh, yes. Terminator. So yeah, Terminator. 5 movies, TV series. We're gonna break this up into 2 parts because of the 5 different movies, and we're not gonna really worry about the TV series because, well, this is movie killers. So this particular podcast, we part 1 with Terminator 1 and Terminator 2: Judgment Day.
Right, but quick question: when do we start television killers?
Soon.
Okay. All right, so let's start out. You want the complete broken problem with Terminator 1.
What kills the movie? What
Okay.
plot hole
Okay.
is so big that we just don't want to look at because there's no movie after?
Okay. The big one for me is the fact that Terminators, you learn in Terminator 2 that they can't self-terminate. I imagine that goes for all Terminators as part of the AI.
Yeah.
Why can't... What's the big plan after that, though? I mean,
Like
you send
you're
the
saying,
Terminator back, he kills Sarah Connor, he kills Kyle Reese, and then... What
happens
does
there?
does he
Yeah.
pull an Ash Williams from Army of Darkness? Just goes into a cave and waits until everything.
Judgment Day?
Yeah, you know.
That is definitely a loose end that's never been addressed, but it doesn't really break the movie though, because if he does succeed, then yeah, he just simply shuts down or goes hide in a cave, whatever, and the plot continues on. But you see, I feel that the real killer, the real plot killer there is actually the idea that the U.S. military, even in 1984, would hook everything up, communications, their internet, our internet, weapon systems, weapon countermeasures, all to one AI.
Okay.
Without the risk of it going bad or someone hacking and taking over it.
Well, yeah.
I doubt that would actually happen.
Because I could never see Bill Gates putting everything under one computer system in my entire life.
Yeah, but still, military.
I'm sorry, we're talking about the U.S. military, right?
We are talking about the U.S. military.
Okay. We're talking about a group of people so lazy. And now I don't mean to disparage the U.S. military, but if there's an easy way to do it, those guys will find it.
Yeah, they go for the cheapest they can to get the most out of it. Yeah, I mean,
the
I've
best
worked
product
in government.
from the best product from the lowest bidder.
That is true, but still,
now-
to turn over all the keys to those nukes and other weapon systems to one AI that you have yet to fully test too.
Well, I mean, in other movies they have covered this, but I do believe that once the computer system, which was just supposed to be a minor computer system, it sort of became self-aware, and then it took over said nukes using the interwebs.
And then targeted our new allies, the Russians. They did the countermeasures, and then Judgment Day.
Think of it, if an AI, artificial intelligence, became self-aware, you think it would still have the ability to hack, right? Especially in 1984.
To at least navigate the different network systems and such. Yeah.
So it would know the back doors, get through, and then control the nuke. So I honestly feel that the AI may have taken over as opposed to turned on and we're controlling all the nukes.
But still, giving the AI access to the military weapon systems may have put it on the combative mindset. Because if it did become self-aware, it became self-aware in a military environment, even though it was cyber.
Well, I mean, how many times do you think the NORAD has been hacked?
Well, in modern day, it's plenty of times, and maybe even the past.
There you go. So it is a hackable system.
It is a hackable system.
And now, if it was a computer doing it, it would be a much more streamlined process.
It would be, but then that's the whole point I'm making is, why would you put everything to one system? Let's say Skynet wasn't an AI.
It could have been several systems. We're talking about a computer AI, dude.
You're right. It
An
could have been
artificial intelligence
but
that's going to be able to just take them all.
But wouldn't you think they'd want to keep certain systems separate to have? Hey, I still got to put that key in to do this.
Here's the thing. All right, here's the way I see it. To be perfectly honest, it's like, okay, you're taking the AI. All right, humans only have 2 hands, so they're prepared for humans with only 2 hands. You can only touch this computer system and this computer system at the same time because you're only human.
Yeah.
But the AI has millions of hands, so it's like, okay, we have separated everything, but it's grabbing the sugar over here, it's grabbing the milk over there, and it's making you a cake of Judgment Day.
Yeah, but
It's putting all the pieces
still
together.
connecting all those pieces together to where it could access to begin with.
Like I said, dude, where there's a chance to make your life easier, people will take it. Think about it. The cloud is doing exactly what Cyberdyne did.
yeah.
It's connecting, like, it's on my phone. It's not on my computer, so it's
Yeah.
safe, except, it goes through
That's
the
actually
cloud.
what
for-
Genesis makes kind of fun of, is the cloud with
Yeah.
Genesis.
Yeah.
But, side note, just in case, in part 2, we will be getting to Terminator Genesis, which did
Is,
come out
to
not too
me,
long ago.
so far, one of the best Terminator movies around.
But it did come out not too long ago, so if you have not seen it, I do recommend go watch
Seeing
it.
it.
It is still enjoyable, and it is fun to see what they do. But back to Terminator 1. So, are we in disagreement on...
Oh no, I agree wholeheartedly
Okay.
that they made it too easy for it to access all of these different systems, but I don't feel like they put it on one computer. I feel like they had it on 20 computers, and Cyberdyne hacked all 20 computers.
Okay, so I have that.
It's more of a, they probably should have had some actual manual press button that didn't have a robotic arm to press this button to set off the nukes. But then again, you could also see the president on Air Force One having to say, go ahead and fire the nukes, and being able to do it remotely.
Yeah, but then in most movies depictions, you see two guys with two different keys who are authorized to make
And if you
that happen.
believe that there's two guys with, you really believe that the whole fate of the world comes down to two guys who are able to count at the exact same time, 3, 2, 1, click,
Well, if you're trained to do that.
and we'll be getting to that in Judgment Day. By the
Ooh,
way.
I can't wait for that. Okay, but still, we have that.
Yep.
We have the whole idea of that if the Terminator succeed, what would it do then? And for that matter, if Skynet succeeded, what would it do? Because, mankind's destroyed, and now what?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, you can send Terminators back, right?
Yeah.
So why not just send 20 fucking Terminators back and start Judgment Day in 1984? But
Well-
pre-John Connor, thus pre-Rebel Alliance, means...
Supposedly, well, first of all, Skynet wouldn't have been hooked up yet and access to everything. But, second of all, is that... I lost my thought.
Okay, well,
Well,
let me,
I can
rebuff you right now, though. All right, first, you think the computers... you really think you couldn't program one of those Terminators? Just one. Not even, I mean, granted, that's movie logic. To just program one to do one job, and everyone else has a different job.
Yeah.
But, to write code, it reads code, obviously.
Oh yeah, now I remember. Okay, so to rebuke that idea, because it is a fair idea. Why not send back a small army of Terminators to ensure the mission succeeds?
No.
It is stated that the time displacement program was essentially a prototype. It was experimental, and it was Skynet's last gamble. It only did it when it knew it was about to be shut down completely and lose. So it's like, well, why not try it?
Okay.
And it sends back a T-800, Model 101, and then to go kill Sarah Connor before John Connor's even born.
Okay, just to cover this for everybody, I've been doing my research. T-800 is the model of the skeleton. Okay, the robot.
Well, it's a series.
Robot skeleton.
Yeah.
That's the series. It's that skeleton. The M101 is the Arnold skin.
Yep.
Just so everyone's aware. Now, what I'm saying is no. What I'm saying is they could have started Judgment Day in 1984 simply by sending the Terminators back, killing tons of humans who wouldn't have been able to stop them because I don't think they all have presses.
Yeah.
Alright? And then they get on a computer. They download from their own head Skynet. Skynet now becomes self-aware in 1984 computers. They have now taken over the world in 1986. 1987. 3 years. So that means John Connor's 3 years old. He's not leading too many rebels, bro. They have circumvented John Connor, started Judgment Day early, have succeeded,
It made him irrelevant.
but they didn't. And they've already proven they can send back multiple Terminators because we're not talking about just one movie
yeah, talking about 5.
and a television show.
That is a fair point, and perhaps maybe though Skynet's sophisticated programming for its core AI is just too much for the T800 series to
That's
have.
why you send back 20.
I mean, because I mean, obviously, with your point of, well, what happens after they terminate their target, what they shut down. They're very simple machines, and we'll get to more in that about how well they infiltrate and how they operate.
Then I would like to express it this way.
Okay.
My thumb drive is a very simple machine.
It is.
Which do you think is more advanced, the T800 or my 32 gigabyte thumb drive?
I would have to try to say the T800 would be more advanced.
Now, so you're telling me that your advanced T800 would be this with the CPU that Miles Dyson creamed his jeans over couldn't have one download RAR zip file to unload onto a 1984 computer that just writes itself, basically a Trojan horse inside the Terminator.
Yeah, and that could have been one way they could have done the scripts, but
that would have been my Terminator movie. 20 Terminators come back, they download out of their head, each take over a bunch of different computer systems.
Then again, with how tough the T800s are, I mean, I see that kind of situation, like you say 20, well, I'd see that as like having one or two Daleks running hell on Earth, and no one's stopping them. From Doctor Who, same thing.
They did that.
They did. Well, they did 5, and they could easily have just taken out everyone.
Yeah, we're talking about we're getting off point here.
I know, I'm just
talking
saying.
about the Scarro, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, though, the
cult of
point
Scarro,
is,
yeah.
the Terminators could go around, and no human's weapons idea would how to take them down. They wouldn't know their weaknesses. They would the bullets would be hitting the exoskeleton and nothing would be going on.
And you see, that's the problem I have, because that's the way you'd think they would have done it, because is that not the way Skynet attacks humans? Shotgun blast?
But
let's send an entire roving crowd of... I mean, the opening thing just shows, look, here's 20 freaking Terminators marching down Skull Island, just tearing ass.
But then again, as Kyle Reese showed at the end of the first movie, they're not that indestructible. A good point-blank blast of explosives will take them down.
Which,
or debilitate them. And so basically, the U.S. military time could eventually use a jet, a tank, and it would stop them.
Unless they just went to...
But actually, your point makes me think of something. Why not send... Okay, Terminator go after Sarah Connor. But then send something else to go, like you said, start Judgment Day early.
Yeah, exactly. They could have sent the T-1000. They could have sent the TX.
Well, I like to believe that T-1000 would not have existed in this particular version of the timeline.
That's why we have time travel.
Yeah, but remember...
Okay, all right. We'll get to that in Judgment Day.
Have two different timelines.
We'll get to that in Judgment Day then.
Yeah, but there's two different timelines in every one of these.
They could send... Literally, they could send back any type... And obviously, they have their own manufacturing. They couldn't make one Terminator just with a huge fucking head. Nobody's gonna care.
Or a drone or something wrapped up in some like organic skin.
I mean, honestly, this is my thought process. The thumb drive. I don't mean to disparage any of our ill-equipped listeners, but my penis plugged into a computer would make a pretty big flash drive, especially wrapped in skin and sent back in time. Now, you remove that because you're Terminator. You're not doing a whole lot of fornicating. You plug that into any computer. You just started Judgment Day with your penis. If that is not true symbolism...
It's kind of like RoboCop Spike, but only down there.
Terminator went back in time and gave birth to... He put his item in a computer, and that created Skynet.
I'm sure
and then
there's a
Kyle Reese goes back in time. He puts his in Sarah Connor, and he creates John Connor, thus starting the whole war early.
I'm sure that in the This Is Not series, I'm sure that happens, but we're not going to that one.
Next week, Tom's Terminator fan fiction, XXX.
Okay, but is there any other major plot hole you can think of before we jump into the fun little ones that we all know?
Let's
and love?
go into the vault, or the phone as I call it.
Okay.
All right. We learn in a future Terminator movie, and I will be referencing those, but we're not talking about those directly, that when a Terminator's power cell explodes, we learn that in 2 different movies, mind you.
Yeah, ruptured or explode. Yeah.
If they are damaged, they explode. And I watched many, many videos from a site where they use presses similar to the ones in Terminator to crush batteries. And when they crush the batteries smoke, and those are just basic battery acid batteries. Mm-hmm. Now, I would imagine if a press were to crush a Terminator's battery, it would explode, kill everybody in a 5-block radius, let's call it.
Based on the Terminator 3, during the chase scene, he threw the one battery. That was probably, I think the explosion was big enough for
Okay.
maybe
10
a shopping
batteries
plaza
blew up a
at
base.
least.
I mean, in Salvation, 10 batteries blew up an entire base.
Well, yeah.
Okay? So, I mean, yeah, to me it kind of sounds like Sarah Connor committed suicide when she crushed him, because it would have blown up in her face, destroyed all remnants of Kyle Reese, probably taken out the entire building, and if that building's truly a manufacturing facility, we're talking volatile chemicals, combustibles, that would also have been exploded, increasing the size of your blast.
Yeah. Now, of course, that's obviously a retcon from a later movie, but in universe, I think I can give you a counterpoint to that actually might explain why in the first one that wasn't an issue. Because there are multiple timelines. Each movie has the original timeline, and then it has the alter timeline from the time travel.
Yep.
We could say that from was it Judgment Day actually had the fusion cell yet?
No.
Okay.
Well, they never go into
It was
what
only
type of
it was
cell.
only Rise of Machines and Salvation. Okay.
Yeah.
So by that point, because of all the interference and that new timeline, technology has advanced. Because basically every movie, Judgment Day has been pushed forward, pushed farther ahead. That means our technology that Skynet's based off of is more advanced.
Not Salvation.
So, well, no, Salvation is set in the future. But either way, and I know what you're getting at, and we'll get to that later.
No, I just wanted to bust your balls. You
Okay.
said that it was always pushed forward, but not in Salvation.
Well, yeah. but essentially, each time it's advanced, there's more options. So maybe in the first timeline, the T-800 series didn't have that fusion power cell. That was so easily ruptured and blew up. Maybe it was a more basic system. But then from that point on, after the advances started, the next version by Rise of Machine did have that. And then, of course, Salvation had it and so forth.
Yeah. Because
So-
I believe in the third one they did do exactly what I talked about, which is download Skynet and get it going early.
Yeah, that's what the TX did. She
Well, I mean, she downloaded the virus that allowed it to become sentient, but
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, that I think would explain why in universe, in the first movie and even the second movie, there was no boom.
Okay.
Because yeah, looking at the future one, send back one, let it. Well, I mean, I know they can't self-terminate, but it would have been override that one programming and say when you get Sarah Connor, explode. She's dead. No problems done.
Okay.
End of story. But
Now,
that's
all right,
not the
well,
case.
that covers all the big ones for me. Now all I have is little minor ones.
Oh, the little minor ones. These are fun.
Okay.
Do you want to start on this one?
I would, because this is one that has always irked me since day one.
Okay.
Why does a computer need a laser sight?
Or, better yet, a piece of paper from the phone book.
Or, better yet, how does he not know what time frame his weapons were built in? He asked for a laser plasma rifle at local gun shop.
Well, that kind of goes back to the point I hinted at earlier, where the original T-800 wasn't really that smart. Sure, as
Well, he was set to read only.
Yeah, but having that complete human outer shell look, and actually, if you read the novelization, it did have a compartment for like a small, like a chicken heart. There was a small nervous system, and he actually did have to eat very little to keep the
Chicken heart?
yeah, but to keep the outside organic parts going.
Okay.
So, which explains why in Genesis that the Terminator would actually age and not just the skin die.
Now, once again, before we trigger any of our listeners, this is not an actual chicken heart. No chickens were harmed in the making of Terminator or the novelization.
All right, covered our bases there.
Yeah. Don't want to upset the vegans. Don't want to upset the vegetarians. Don't want to
PETA.
upset PETA. Because,
we just did.
I mean, I'm a member of PETA. People eating tasty animals.
But yeah, so it was not an advanced model as we see later on as the movie became more sophisticated. I mean, even Kyle Reese was saying how difficult it was to spot this thing. Yet when you see Arnold in the first movie, he almost never shows that he's breathing. His expression is always just like poker face. And he's constantly search mode. And yet you can tell that this guy, something's wrong with him. And the way he was dressed and looking around, you may want to keep your distance. So,
Well, you see, here's the thing. Is if you ever look at, hypothetically, every time I've seen videos of special forces, people who are in combat, they act like that. Especially while they're working. They're calm, they're quiet, they're trying not to draw any attention to themselves by making noises or showing off in any way. That could have been why he was doing that. He was set to read only, which means keep quiet, keep out of sight, basically blend into the background.
Oh, he kept out of sight a few times, but...
Oh, yeah. Because he has bionic legs, he can run faster than the human person.
Yeah, but there's also times where he actually was subtle and he was smart at times. So it's not like he was dumb the whole time.
Yeah, he mimicked a voice.
Like he made sure to confirm the first Sarah Connor you see him kill was indeed Sarah Connor before he opened fire.
You think he should have checked to see if that was the Sarah Connor he was searching for, though?
Well, remember,
that would fall into your thing.
The only records that Skynet had access to, which Kyle Reese explained, was after the blast from Judgment Day. They only had records enough to determine the year and the city where Sarah Connor was located.
Yeah, which we will get to.
As how many Sarah Connors,
movies.
It didn't know. Which Sarah Connor, it didn't know. In fact, Kyle Reese only knew because John Connor made him memorize a photo of Sarah Connor.
You know what the funny thing is?
And
he never killed any S. Connors.
Yeah, but there was only 3 in the phone book.
Yeah, there were only 3 Sarah Connors, but he never looked up S. Connor.
Actually, I remember the scene. There was no other S. Connor, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because he was only looking at Sarah's.
Yeah, but no, I remember looking above and below. There was no S. Connor. But you're right. If there had been one,
well, I'm sorry. R sits pretty far down in the alphabet.
Yeah.
If you're only looking at Sarah, you probably can't see the very start, which would just be S. Connor.
Yeah.
Because you still got the Sam Connors.
Yeah, Steve Connor.
Yeah.
But no,
But
it's a
he
fair
really
point.
only went after the Sarah Connors, and if Sarah Connor just decided, fuck it, I'm just gonna put S. Connor in the phone book. Too many Sarah Connors anyway. There's like 4 of those bitches. They keep getting their calls.
Okay, yeah, but that's a fun one. And of course, you know what really got me was the very beginning of Kyle Reese in the past. He committed no crime but took a pair of pants from a hobo.
That's still theft.
It's still theft, but that's all he did. But this is what happens: a cop car and is on him, and then he runs, and they're already drawing weapons on him. Which, okay, reasonable reaction because you got a criminal running.
Yeah. Well, he was flashing too.
Yeah. However, they chase him into a department store, and now there's like 5 cop cars. I don't know.
They call backup. They're good cops. I'm just surprised how fast backup got there. I can't even get a cop to my
A
house.
man who only has pants. You need 5, basically probably 10 cops at least. It was a complete overreaction, and why were they there that so quick?
All right. I have it. I got your answer here.
Okay.
All right. It just popped into my head. They heard a loud explosion coming from an alleyway. When they went to investigate, there's one guy not wearing pants, one guy wearing pants, and the guy wearing pants doesn't have anything else on. The guy not wearing pants saying, this guy's stealing my pants.
I don't know. I don't think that the
vortex that created that loud Kyle Reese into the past caused a loud enough explosion to draw police attention, or had somebody call the cops, and the cops are just right around the corner because the good donut shop is down the street.
Maybe.
It's all about position, man.
But the bigger point on that is that's humorous. It's the fact that in all of the Terminators, with the exception of even Salvation in its own form, but not police, the police are completely against the good guys. Like they are like hunting down like
we can
U.S.
get in this
Marshals.
into a later movie.
Yeah, but they are like
there's
everywhere.
one good cop.
There is one good cop, but the entire police force is literally after our heroes every time.
Okay.
While the Terminator just gets right back.
I'd like to bring up a lot of news from late. People getting arrested just because they ran from the cops. It happens.
I get that.
And we're talking about the 80s where nobody really gave a shit why you were getting arrested. You could get arrested for running from the police, and that was your crime.
Yeah. And I get that, but
I mean, yes, he's Caucasian, so we're going to give him a little slack.
Let's assume that the department that had initially countered Kyle Reese is the same department that has a homicide that's looking for Sarah Connor. You have reports of a guy who was killed. Did he kill all 3 punks in the beginning of the movie when Arnold arrived?
I would like to believe that he left no survivors. He killed 2, told 1 to strip. I imagine after he stripped, because he didn't want any blood on the clothes, he killed the guy.
Okay, so 2, maybe 3 right there. Young adults, teenagers, killed.
Oh, wait, but I would like to cover something.
All right.
In the 80s, punk culture was deemed much like a plague to society. The cops might not have been looking too hard, deemed it up to gang violence in LA, and just left it at that.
But then you had a gun shop owner killed. probably witnesses saying that the guy was brutally shot down. Then you start having reports
What
of
witnesses?
Sarah Connor won
The store was empty.
on the street. You hear loud gunfire from the gun store, and you see a guy walk out with a little arsenal. You know something's up. But the point is,
Well, that's the thing. Is he didn't walk out with a big arsenal. He
most
walked out
likely
covered
the
up.
police found out about that murder. They found out about the Sarah Connor murders. They should be more concerned with this. There's a guy going around and killing people.
They haven't put
brutally.
the connection together yet.
And that may be. And
I mean,
let's
to be
face it.
perfectly honest, guy, well built, over 6 foot, Caucasian, brown hair. How many people do you think that matched up to? Plenty.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of people. So, it's like, oh yeah, we have some, and then that's if this street cop, that street cop who was first on the scene, are the same street cop, you might get it connected.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to be perfectly honest, this detective, that detective, in a major city, I mean, do you really think he had time to go, oh yeah, the guy looked like this. Hey, that was my guy. That takes place like a week later.
Yeah. But let's also face it. These cops were probably by far the most incompetent cops I've seen in movies. Like, okay, 2 Sarah
They
Connors down.
caught Sarah Connor?
One more Sarah Connor. No, she called them.
Yeah,
One more
she still
Sarah
got a
Connor
hold of
down. What should we do? We should probably get a hold of this last Sarah Connor. Well, let's call her apartment, her house. She's
No
not
answer.
answering. Leave a message. All right. That's all we can do. Hey,
Well-
so to get the game?
I mean, it could be
They-
because of the fact that, girls named Sarah Connor are being murdered. But you know what? We also got to investigate those 3 punks who got killed, with the gun shop owners got killed, and then the 90 million other murders that took
Yeah.
place that weren't done by a robot from the future.
Yeah, but you do
And then there's
have-
the guy who assaulted 5 cops in a department store at 12 p.m. Which you think is going to take precedence there too, by the way? The Sarah Connor murders or the cops getting assaulted?
Evaded the police in the beginning, but still.
He stole one of their guns
He did
and the
steal one
shotgun
gun.
out of the car.
He stole the shotgun.
Oh, and a revolver. And a revolver. His first gun was a revolver.
Yeah.
Cop had the gun to him. He turned around, took the gun, ran off.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, but still, cops were assaulted.
Yeah.
Code of blue. That's the big thing they're investigating right
And
now.
I get that. I do.
And he does not look like the Terminator. He is not over 6 foot. He is not well built. I mean, and he's dressed like a hobo.
Yeah. Of course, on Kyle Reese, while we're at it, there is another thing that kind of bugged me. Kyle Reese has been confirmed that he grew up in the ruins of Judgment Day and into the war. Meaning, he was never around before Judgment Day.
Mm-hmm.
He gets sent back to the past. Now, initially at night, this would have been like a normal day for him. However, during the day on the street, when there's just many people walking about their normal days, like no worries, there should have been some signs of cultural shock.
That can be explained by proper preparation by a certain military leader who explained to him what life day to day was like
That may be.
back in the 90s.
But if you're a soldier and all you've known has been war for surviving,
Not necessarily.
and then all of a sudden you're thrown in the past before this war has ever happened, and there's plenty of people who are happy, they're not scared, they're not hiding, they're not trying to script and scrape and get what little food they can. There has to be some, even if John Connor prepared him as best he could, there's still been some shock. And maybe it wasn't just shown because the director didn't deem it necessary.
Or maybe because of the fact that, he's a trained soldier and he's not gonna be the kind of guy who gets shocked too easy by things being calm. He'd be more worried about things being crazy and hectic. Because look, in combat, when he took the cop's gun, he evaded the police on foot to a department store. He knew what he was doing. He
Yeah.
was acting precise.
Yeah, oh yeah,
with
that
precision.
was a military
So
situation.
therefore,
for him.
he was not thinking about, oh, would you look at that? Oh, would you look at that? He was going, mission, find Sarah Connor.
Yeah, no, and I get that.
Do the
That's why I
job.
said during the day later on when he's in the alleyway,
And you're
sawing off the
talking to a
stump.
guy who has been to at least not but 4 other countries. When I was there for a competition, that's exactly what it would be like. I wasn't looking, oh, look, rice. No, it was, oh, look, a foot. I should kick that.
Okay, maybe.
He was a man on a mission. He knew he
yeah.
didn't want to fail John, and that was the biggest thing. Because it's that one thing you never see him do? Eat.
Yeah, I think
Name
she
one
had to
time-
force him to eat.
Yeah, she got burgers. I think that's about it. His first thing he did, get a weapon. Second thing he did, get clothes. Third thing, second weapon.
Yep.
He was a man working a mission.
Okay, man, and then maybe that's
So-
how he avoided the culture shock was that
Because
just
he didn't have time to think about it. He had time to go. Where the hell's... Oh, well, let's get the phone book. Oh, look, there's 4 Sarah Connors.
And didn't he memorize Sarah Connor's?
No, I think he ripped it out.
Okay.
But then again, he had more information than the Terminator did.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he had personal information from John Connor. Straight up exact information, so he knew where he needed to get to. Mm-hmm. Okay, I can accept that. That is fair that he could override the cultural shock because he's focused on the mission and nothing else.
Tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision. I get that. I experienced it myself. So I understand that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you got another one?
Oh, do I have another one?
Yeah, what do you got? Because I don't want to keep going on. Let's go back and forth.
I am not afraid to say I've been in a police station before. Never once met a psychiatrist who worked there. Never once met a police psychiatrist in my life. Somehow, LA in the 1980s had one on staff to talk to Sarah Connor.
Oh, yes. What was the doctor's name again?
I do not remember.
Oh,
I can look it up real quick.
Yeah, what is his name?
But yeah, this psychiatrist, okay? This guy, oh, hold on. I might actually have it here. No, I don't. Not on here. But no, this guy just shows up, assesses them in one sitting.
Crazy.
I know, yeah, they're nuts. I can tell you that right now. Oh, God forbid it's, traumatic shock from, everybody with your name dying.
Dr. Silberman.
Silberman. With a B.
Yep.
Silberman. Yep. He's the one person outside of Arnold who appeared in all 3 of the first 3 Terminator movies.
Yes, he was one of the assistants.
Yep. Him and Arnold in the first 3.
Yep.
Yep.
I will say, though,
and each one of them
to be fair from his perspective, and really anyone who's dealing with the situation without knowing the Terminator actually is, you got a guy who did assault an officer, ran from the law, stole weaponry, has this girl, Sarah Connor kind of felt like she was being kidnapped. Even though he did save her, she was still on the fence about it. And he's going on and on about a future war with these machines and that most of mankind be killed off. It's reasonable to believe going like, this guy's got to be nuts. There's no way this could happen. Because, I mean, if we were working somewhere and someone was telling us, like, this horrible future, we'd have our doubts. Like, there's no way that would actually happen. I mean, heck, that's part of this podcast is the reason why most of these movies can never occur in our universe, because most of the reasons that we mention are why they don't occur in our universe.
Well, that, Terminators hopefully don't exist.
Well, hopefully won't exist.
Okay.
Well, drones.
I just came up with a giant, huge, gaping wide plot hole.
Oh, okay.
One that could have very well stopped this movie dead in its tracks for the most part.
All right.
What do you think the TSA's, or I guess if they didn't have a TSA back then, how hard would it have been to fly to another part of the state? As far as money goes, if you had the money for the ticket. Hopped on the red eye.
Those are small airlines. Those are really cheap and quick and easy for the most part.
You wouldn't need a passport. Probably wouldn't even need a driver's license, would you?
For state to state, you don't need a passport.
Or even a bus. Why didn't they just leave L.A.? They knew the Terminator only knew 2 things.
L.A.
And, yeah, time, and she lived in L.A. So, he gets back there. He finds her in the club. They escape. Where are we going? Illinois. Chicago.
Basically, no major city.
We're going to Cleveland. We're going to go see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Florida. And then from Florida, I'm going to get a fake ID, which should be really easy in the 80s because way less safety measures. Then we're going to go to Europe. We're going to get the hell away from this thing because I'm pretty sure the T-800 can't swim, and he can't carry guns on a plane.
Yeah,
and he's not getting through a metal detector.
That'd be hilarious.
Beep.
No, you are right, though. Why they stayed in L.A. is... Besides, I mean, granted, because Sarah Connor was arrested and then, admitted to the psychiatric ward, the maximum security.
Okay.
Because she tried to blow up a computer corporation to try to stop Judgment Day. So maybe instead of leaving, like the smart thing would have been, and she did leave at the first beginning of the movie, but she must have went back.
They stayed in L.A. when they were building bombs. It was just outskirts of L.A.
Okay.
They stayed in Los Angeles. That was the sad part.
But still.
Quick drive to Mexico.
Yeah, but
quick
still.
Drive to Mexico.
They should have left the major cities. Because at that point, Sarah was, at least in Terminator 1, was ready that this was coming, no matter what. Now, granted, Terminator 2 shows that maybe something happened and it changed her mind. She decided to fight back and try to stop Judgment Day. And hence why she gets arrested, and then John goes into foster care, which really put him in danger because now he's in the system, he's identified. That's how the T-1000 got to him almost got to him so quick. But that's Judgment Day, we won't go into that just yet. But, I mean, yeah, so Dr. Silverman, I can understand them and the police not wanting to believe that. Okay. I can understand and that is a very big plot hole.
I just want to cover that it would have been a 23-hour, 57-minute drive to get from L.A. to Mexico City, Mexico. That's not even talking about crossing the border. That's going straight into the heart.
Wow, yeah.
It would have been, it appears to me, less than a 2-hour drive to cross the state of California into Mexico. If not just Gulf of Mexico. Just get there and get the hell away from the Terminator. And the Terminator would have been scouring LA the rest of his life because that's the only thing he knows.
Yep.
You go to Mexico, you move from there, you go to Trinidad or another country.
He only got to the hotel because she called her, was it her mother, her friend? Yep. Sarah Connor made a phone call and it was a Terminator on the other line.
Yeah, and they thought it was her mom.
Or was it a roommate, maybe?
Her mom.
Her mom, okay.
I believe it was her mom.
But either way, he said, "Don't call anyone."
Yeah,
she didn't
tell
listen.
me where you are.
Because you know what character in these movies doesn't listen?
Yeah.
So.
And then honestly, if I was Kyle Reese, I would give her the only information I would have gave her is like, "Oh, their base of operations, it's in France." But personally, I would have gotten my ass to Mexico. I would have stayed in Mexico because you know what's the hardest thing in the world to be in Mexico? A giant white guy.
Yeah.
Like, hey, dude, here's $20. Let me know if you see a giant white guy in sunglasses. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, there's one right there. He's got a gun.
Yep.
Go offer him some chiclets. We're out of here. Like he'd ever go to Mexico because he doesn't even know Mexico. That's not even in his programming.
Okay, yeah.
He's a read-only, so he only knows stay in L.A.
But you know what? That's an additional giant plot hole that we didn't catch originally.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's great. But let's try to finish up a few more minor ones, and then we'll jump into what's considered one of the best of the series is Judgment Day, Terminator 2, by most.
Yeah,
but
I agree. Okay, minor ones.
Yeah.
There's the fact that the land speed of a Terminator can almost be non-visible, because when he jumped out of the police car and ran for it, completely disappeared out of sight. Nobody saw. With how many cops?
Yeah. Because remember, the cops are all after Kyle Reese, and yet that's another thing about that
Could have been
part.
tunnel vision again.
He could have walked over, because remember, Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese were in a daze from the accident. He could have walked over and broke her neck.
Yep.
And then no John Connor.
Yep.
And
where'd he get the leather jacket from?
In all the movies, I've noticed that the T-800s never go for the neck. They throw the victim around to make this dramatic when they could just break the neck and it's over.
I've never seen them wrestle a human.
In Salvation, he could throw John Connor around for a while.
But that was an early model. They were stupid. He didn't have detailed files of human anatomy.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm going to use your own argument against you on that one.
Okay, but in this one, he knew where the kill shots were.
Really? And that's why it took him 6 shots to take down a soccer mom?
Heck, you're telling me... Well, yeah, but still...
And he has a laser sight. He needs a laser sight.
That's true. But you're telling me that in the car he didn't have any other guns? He could have walked over and still shot her? Or at least got a knife and just...
And then from a tech perspective, the one thing I would like you to answer is what would laser sight look like on infrared?
Well, based on we see of Terminator Vision?
Nothing.
You wouldn't see it.
Exactly.
Now,
it would have been like a cat.
Now, granted, you could say maybe the Terminator actually did have alternate spectrums that you could tap into.
Oh, so he's a predator now?
A multi, spectrum.
Okay, yeah, he can change his vision.
It could
That's
be.
Fine.
Now, this is not confirmed.
Seems like
I didn't read the book, so I don't really know.
But you see, then again, that just depletes the logic of then why do you need the laser pointer if you have multiple fields of vision?
And also, you have cybernetic systems. You don't,
And then sunglasses to boot.
Yeah, but that is the point, though. You're right. He didn't need laser vision.
Never needed that.
Didn't need it. He could have taken every weapon with iron sights and shot them just as accurate if he had all the
because it would have been digital calibration.
Yeah.
RoboCop didn't need it. That's all I'm saying.
But
I'll leave it at that.
I think the only other thing in that movie, besides some of the more jokey stuff, like Sarah Connor outrunning a semi truck, and would be actually you mentioned this to me before was at the end when Kyle Reese blew up the pipe. Well, not the pipe.
I was going to get into that on the next movie, because that's where it's really is a plot hole for.
Okay.
But if you want to start into that, we can
And
always
then we
start
can
in Terminator
transition.
2. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah.
It's that's all right. For Terminator 2, Judgment Day. My big plot hole for that movie is they found a part of an arm and a microchip from his head that got crushed. I mean, yeah, that perfectly good microchip. There were legs. There was a pelvis. Part of a spinal cord, I imagine, because that bomb blew his entire lower half off.
It blew him apart, but did not actually destroy the solid components, meaning
Yeah.
the framework was there.
Yeah.
So
They
these
would-
guys should have had, when you see in Cyberdyne, it should have been an arm and a damaged microchip. It should have been like something you see when you find a fossilized ancient human. Like, there's all the parts, but you're missing pieces, but you could still make the general skeleton.
Yeah.
And they should have been like, who made this?
Yeah, but all you see is an arm and the microchip, but there should have been legs and a pelvis. It should have been like, okay, look, we got a whole leg here we can work with.
Yep.
I mean, at least one whole leg, if not two entire legs.
I mean, because, heck, Cyberdyne would have got so much funding just from the prosthetics technology alone.
Yeah. I mean, imagine just a robot leg. You're kicking ass like Arnold. You're able to run from cop cars without being seen like
Actually,
that.
then again, in the director's version of Judgment Day, we do
Which
see some
I watched.
extended, and I did too for the first time, which was great. Miles Dyson does talk into why he's doing this. All the benefits you can have, automated pilots for airliners, no pilot getting
Oh,
tired.
yes. Because
And
that's
think
what I want. Skynet running my airplane.
Well, yeah, no, we don't. But still, I mean, the prosthetics, all that he did mention, so that's what they were pumping for. Obviously, there was some military backers behind that too. But the advances they made, which then goes into my one point about the multiple timelines and advancing, is that they kept getting a jump technology. But that's the minor stuff. We're not going to worry about that just yet.
Yeah. This was a major plot hole, is
But
that
you
they
are
should have
right.
had all this.
They should have a whole lot more.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really...
It just kind of shows that they
Yeah.
were not planning to make this movie because they forgot that little aspect.
Well, also back then, a lot of these movies were made just for one, and then they got approved for another one. They had to make another one and fit it in.
But then you should have watched the first one real thoroughly and did what we did. Two average guys with no movie training whatsoever.
Yeah.
All right. One of my personal top ones, and I listed this by importance.
Okay.
Why did she stay in California?
She went back to try to blow up.
No,
Most
she
like-
didn't. She was. She should have stayed gone. She could have done that with any number of the guys she was screwing.
Well, like that, and I agree that if she had simply stayed away, Judgment Day still would have happened like it does, and Sarah would have actually survived into Judgment Day most likely.
Okay.
But like I said earlier, what probably happened is that she went from I'm going to survive, I'm going to fight back too. Unfortunately, it also sets up the fact of her getting arrested, John going in foster care, and then all the events. But that's still a fair one. And granted, I could still say my major one is the fact that why hook up Skynet to everything. But let's say, okay, I see a problem not so much with that. I mean, that is definitely a big issue to me, but the time travel aspect. Now, this is the one movie where there's a problem. Or at least where this starts. Before, you had a human and a Terminator, because the Terminator was sent back, the human stopped Skynet, found the machine, and sent back a human.
Okay.
And because of, divergent timelines, they could have sent back Kyle Reese years later, and it wouldn't have made a difference for our time when the events could really occur. So, but how do you have the rebels who have now reprogrammed a T-800, Skynet sends back the T-1000 prototype, and then they send back the T-800. Oh wait, but you still send back the original T-800 and Kyle Reese.
Well, yeah, which means
You have 4 different trips back in the past here. How did this all occur? Because in the first movie, they said after they found the time displacement machine and after Kyle was sent back, they destroyed the machine. At least that's what he was told they were going to do.
yeah.
And I like to think that even John would be like, this is too dangerous. this
Well,
needs to
I
be
mean,
destroyed.
it's the same logic we just used. Even if you destroyed the machine, you could always build a new one.
Yeah, but Skynet was defeated. At that point, Skynet was no more in the future.
Well, I mean, okay.
The humans won, they survived, but Skynet tried to change the past, not knowing that it is creating a divergent timeline and that it had no effect on the timeline that the Terminator came
Well,
from.
that's because Judgment Day got pushed back.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not.
So
even-
that means that End Day gets pushed back.
It's not even that. It's because, like I said earlier, I mentioned that each of these movies have 2 different timelines: the original and then the new one from the events of the time travel. So basically, Skynet in the original timeline sends back a Terminator to try to undo the human resistance so it wins. The problem is it didn't test it. It didn't know that it would create a divergent timeline, that basically no matter what the Terminator did, succeed or fail, it would have no effect on the original timeline. Which is why Kyle Reese can sent back at any point, as long as he's sent back to the same time period. Same date, roughly, with probably within like a couple of minutes to an hour, whatever, in different locations, because I noticed in Genesis spatial coordinates are a little harder to pinpoint for time travel. But, it's... Skynet didn't know, and it didn't test it. So now, granted, you can say, well, maybe it did, but then why would it even take the gambit? There's no point. That Skynet lost. It's over. It's done. It can't win. It can't undo that fact. It lost. Now, maybe, like I said, it could have been rushed.
Yeah.
But that machine looked pretty well and ready, and Genesis even showed...
Except for the fact it didn't have human skin.
Yeah. Well, and it obviously had to learn that. So maybe there was some testing.
It can make metal items. It can't make skin. I mean, it was liquid metal. That's how it made skin.
Well, no, actually, I think how that one worked is that it originally had a skin that once it went to the past, it shed that skin essentially. Basically, it zipped up a human suit, went in the past, and got rid of it.
Oh, well, I guess that makes sense, but why? I mean, it seems kind of weird that they make the
T-1000 had to
like
kind of
that.
do that. Of course, then that goes in the whole point of the T-1000 not using different forms throughout the movie, but...
Well, it did.
Temporarily for a scene or two, and then went back to its default actor's form, and it's like, well, why? You could have had... You had a threat that could have been anyone on the street, and just slowly approaching John Connor and getting him.
Yeah. Well, to be perfectly honest, if I was going to hunt him down in the arcade, I would not look like a cop. I'd look like his mom, who I've already seen.
Or a kid.
Yeah.
The kid would have been the easiest route.
Girl. Because obviously he knew his wife back then, because they cover that in a future movie. Yeah. But,
Now, granted, it was stated that he was a prototype, so maybe he's still green. Didn't catch that, because one of my gripes about the T-1000, and this is kind of dipping into the minor stuff, is that it never truly utilized its shapeshifting capabilities to its full potential. John Connor's running on a dirt bike. He's running after him on foot. Bipedal
animal.
Maximum speed's about 10 miles per hour for most humans. If you train.
Humans maximum?
Yeah.
Fastest person in the world can run. I believe it's 12-minute mile.
So about how much?
No, not a 12-minute mile. What am I thinking? All right, fastest person on Earth. Hold on.
Okay.
I'll research. You keep going on.
You research that. But so basically, bipedal movement can only go so far. A Terminator can go faster, but still would max out. Why not become a sort of quadruped, like a four-legged creature, and you can go faster? And with the Terminator body, you go even faster. You would have caught the John Connor real quick. Or, like they did in some Genesis parts, use some of your liquid metal, make a javelin, and throw it right at John Connor. He's dead. Oh, wait, I have no purpose. Shut down.
Well, I mean, okay.
But,
if we're going to get into that one, my question for you would be, he's chasing him through the parking garage.
Yeah.
Shoot him.
Because he had the pistol. Yeah.
Just shoot him.
I know.
Pop a cap in his ass.
Yeah. I almost forgot that little one. But yeah, the T-1000, it showed intelligence, and then it showed complete stupidity half the time. Worse than Arnold in the first movie.
Usain Bolt can run 28 miles per hour.
Wow, really?
Yep.
Wow, I didn't know.
In the 100-meter sprint. But then again...
That's still...
That means the fastest that the guy could move would be the fastest any human could move, which would probably be 28 miles per hour. So that means that dirt bike was doing 35,
out of that garage easily. So yeah, he could have... Terminator, I could have caught up to him.
Yeah.
No problem. Yep. Even without the gun. He could have ran up right and got him.
See, and then, I mean, I have to get into the minor stuff after this, because, that scene hole right there has so many of them.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll go back to that. Is there any major stuff else for Terminator 2 you can think of? Because a lot of stuff we mentioned in the first one is kind of the same.
Arnold Schwarzenegger was very quickly wanting to become a wanted man, because he never drove with headlights on. And if you're trying to blend in, driving around with no headlights is a sure way to get yourself noticed.
Over. And that that the enemy is using...
stolen motorcycle with multiple firearms, and you're a biker, which are already considered violent offenders anyway.
Not to mention, the T-1000 is mimicking a cop who's going to know.
Well, he didn't know it at that time.
No, when he was driving at
No,
night?
when he stole the motorcycle.
Oh, no, when he stole the motorcycle, you're correct.
He had no idea the term. Yeah.
You are right. He didn't have the headlight in the beginning.
He never used headlights. Watch the whole movie.
You're right.
I guarantee you will never spot the Terminator driving with headlights on because he doesn't need them. He even mentions this in commentary. John Connor goes, "How can you see?" And he goes, "I can see just fine."
Yep.
Because he's got the Terminator vision.
And hence he had to learn how, instead of just
Yep.
hotwiring the car quickly like he can, sometimes the keys are right there. And yeah, you can do that,
Which
but
was
that's...
one of my favorite nods of the third one. When he drops the sunglasses out. I was like, oh, there's
Yeah.
no keys, but sunglasses. Sweet.
Nice little nod back.
Anyway, yeah. As far as that goes, that's a great way to get yourself caught.
You are correct.
And then the second one being John Connor teaches him things before he's on read and write. He's only on read only.
Well, that was a deleted scene for the director's version. And
Uh,
while I...
Pick your leg up. Put your leg down. Don't kill anybody. These are learned behaviors for something that's a Terminator.
Well, following orders. But
Following orders, but still, going well out of his way not to kill people when... What is your job again?
yeah. And also, he didn't quite even understand the reason why. But then again,
Oh,
he was...
crap. There's a huge plot
But he
hole
was
in all the
programmed
movies.
to follow John Connor's orders so long as it didn't endanger the mission.
You see, me...
If John says, don't kill, okay, I have to incapacitate.
See, me, if I ever came
Or
across
maim.
that Terminator, I could destroy him in a minute. Just by going, you're a Terminator. You're made to kill, yes. But you're ordered not to kill. Then are you... But you're still a Terminator.
Paradox.
But you don't kill. Paradox. And then...
That's been shown in sci-fi to overload
yep.
simpler AIs. More advanced AIs can get around it, but
Except
it's
for
still
Santa
messes up.
Claus bot.
Well, yeah.
He has paradox reducing crumple points. Anyway, but yeah, no. Rest I have are really minor stuff, but I mean, it does affect the plot quite a bit.
Okay.
And we're gonna get back to the mall scene. Terminator's walking down a hallway. He sees John Connor. Does he think, "Stop! I'm here to protect you"? No. Does he go, "Do you need help"? No. He goes, "You know what this kid needs? To see my shotgun."
Yeah, and the
He
T1
does not visualize the threat.
Yep, you're right. You're right. The T1000 was not in
It's a
sight yet.
T-shaped hallway.
Yep.
All right. Even if he was down the other hallway while the kid's running, walking up. Oh, look, box of roses. Look at my shiny shotgun. That's gonna make the kid come to you. Hey, look, it's that thing my mom described in great detail, coming at me with a shotgun.
Also, why didn't T1000 run after John during those parts?
Because
I mean, aside from the
plot armor?
obvious, yeah. I mean, aside from to make it more dramatic, I mean, really, he could have just went right at him.
Yeah. And then my second favorite. All the times they shoot the TX while he's chasing them, never shoots a leg once. I mean, if I wanted to stop something from chasing me, I'm not shooting him in the chest if I know it's not going to work. I'm going to shoot him in the leg because I know no matter what, that leg gets damaged, it might break and can't keep running.
And since he's a Terminator, he wouldn't have
Detailed files.
and he'd have the ability to shoot completely accurately no matter what recoil in the gun there is.
Yeah, I mean, look how accurate he was with the shotgun at 25 yards.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can go with that.
And then, once
Also,
again,
why when he was knocked through the display into the main part of the mall during the quick fight they had, why was he down for a couple of moments? That should have been like, just get right back up, wouldn't you think?
I think it was more of processing data. It was, what the fuck was that? Because he didn't know the TX had gone back.
T1000, but yeah.
The T1000, sorry. TX, T1000, whatever. He didn't know that they sent a T1000.
It was a prototype, you're right. It had to
He
evaluate.
knew that they sent back another Terminator. He didn't know which, and then he figured it out when this thing that was clearly half his size knocked him on his ass.
And then he knew what he was dealing
So
with.
then he had to
Okay.
process his files, and he had to go, wait, what was that? Oh, yeah, that was the T1000.
Okay, yep, that's actually, I never thought of it that way. That's a fair point.
So, that was sort of the loading screen for a Terminator.
Okay, yeah. Like I said,
Okay.
never thought of that. I like that. It's
They're
very good.
going through the aqueduct. Okay?
Oh, boy.
We have not one, but two dramatic stop runnings. One, John Connor hits the aqueduct, turns around. Holy shit, it's Big Rig. Not, I'm going to keep fucking driving because you run until your ass can't. Not you run until you think you're safe.
Especially when your mother's been telling you all your life, Terminator's going to try to kill you.
You have just confirmed that things are trying to kill you.
Yep.
Or at least you're being chased by a cop.
Well, no, remember when he finally sat down with Arnold, he confirmed, you're a Terminator, aren't you?
Yeah.
He accepted it right away.
Because he
knew.
had a description.
He saw the T-1000 get shot and it's like re-heal, like, and it's like, he knew. So you're right, he should have kept going.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. And then the even stupider one, the truck blows up. The tire comes rolling out. Why the hell did Arnold stop the Harley? You think he would have just said, no, keep running.
And yeah, knowing that, because his mission parameters were to protect John.
I mean, granted, he might have been compiling data. Okay, that does not kill a TX. Got it.
Yeah, T-1000.
Or T-1000.
I would say because TX is a technically a T-2000, I think, but yeah.
All right, the T-1000 does not get destroyed by this.
You're right. He was evaluating, okay, that didn't do it. All right, check that off the list.
Yep, okay.
All right. That's actually fair of why he stopped. But John, you're right, should have kept going.
Yeah. Even then, though, I think the T-1000 should have been... probably could have caught them on foot at that point.
Though, you know,
if he had turned into a Jaguar.
At my point, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, you just actually made me think of a point that I never really thought of before. Okay, John was raised by Sarah, and many other people learned many trades and skills of how to be a survivalist.
Obviously, hacking.
Hacking is one of them. You know, basic military knowledge, weapons, all that. At least, you would think that Sarah would have set up safe houses. And that John would be privy to certain safe houses in the area. And that him being a hoodlum would have used them to be his little personal hangout. So, in the point of when you're saying he should have kept going, he should have went straight to his hideout, his sanctuary. They didn't have that.
Okay.
But you know, they want to do the truck coming over that small bit of an overpass that shouldn't have to get the momentum going to do that, but that's a different story.
Okay. If he had decided to turn into a cheetah, he could have ran 75 miles per hour.
Which would have easily
caught up with the moped, at least.
Well, the dirt bike, but yeah.
Yeah. If he had turned into a bird. Okay. If he had turned into a golden eagle, perhaps, he could have flown 199 miles per hour.
Well, we have to assume that the liquid metal would be too heavy for proper flight.
I disagree. When Arnold gets into a car or on a motorcycle, what happens? That thing drops.
Yeah.
It shows, because it's showing the Terminator weight.
Yeah.
When Jason Patrick's T-1000 gets into a car, it does not drop. That liquid metal weighs less, and that's therefore, if he were to take on the properties of a large flight bird,
like condors, giant eagles, okay.
Yeah, he would have been able to
fly
into
to
the bird,
some extent.
fly to a higher speed, not have to worry. And I still think if he can turn into a human, he can turn into liquid metal, he could turn himself into a glider.
Or dive bomb him right into his target.
Yeah.
You're right. And that's a tactic.
And he obviously understands the concepts of flight, because he can fly a helicopter.
Yep. Which I did like the fact that he did show him creating a third arm to control the helicopter while he was reloading his machine gun in that part.
He doesn't need a third leg, he's got a third arm.
That's for you, ladies.
Alright, don't be sexist. That's for everybody who enjoys a third arm. Thank you.
You're right. And you gentlemen too.
Yeah. Don't we want to honor our gay audience.
Aqueduct, he confirms, he decides I want to, save my foster parents, save my mom.
He did not want to save the foster parents. Well, he just called them.
He said,
he went straight to his mom, no phone call.
They don't just know. He called them first. He said, they're dicks, but they don't deserve to die.
And then he completely abandons that when he realized he's got to go save his mom.
Well, also the fact that
they're already
confirmed they're dead.
Yeah. Even though they didn't want to confirm that kill. At all.
Yeah.
For all he knows, Terminator's TX is just infiltrating and letting them live. Even though you think the Terminator T-1000...
Oh, no. He actually stated that the T-1000, from his records, kills the target and then take on its form, which leads to a problem in the end of the movie.
If he had just killed both of them, he wouldn't have had to take any form. He let the husband live longer than he really should have.
Yeah, but he was also hoping that John would come home. So instead of trying to have to spread out his form to mimic two different people, which he probably couldn't do, he let the Todd still be Todd and alive and simply mimic, I forgot the foster mother's name, But her, and then when he
Okay.
wouldn't shut up, just killed him, and then
Here's another minor one that irked me.
Okay.
I got one right here. I'm looking through my list. Okay. The Terminator states in this movie he has detailed files on human anatomy.
yeah,
Correct? Why do humans cry is a question he asks. If I have detailed files on human anatomy, you'd think I'd understand how and why tear ducts worked.
you see, that's it. He did. The only reason he asked was because you're not injured. Why are you crying?
He has to understand
He
emotional
asked-
distress.
Yeah, he asked. Well, he obviously did it. He was asking the philosophical question because even people ask that. Why do we cry? Why is it when we go through emotional stress do our tears come out? Why? And that's what he was asking. But that's also trying to show the whole machine growing the soul kind of thing, and becoming more than a machine, and
Okay.
all that kind of fun. Which, yeah, it's good, and that's how you set that up and how you develop that in the movie. Like when he says at near the end, "I now know why you cry," and it's like, oh wow, that's very powerful and great.
Even though he doesn't, he's a
But-
robot, not an AI.
You're right, though, and in a sense, it's like he could have said, "Well, I know why you have tear ducts and why you would cry, but why are you crying right now?" It just doesn't compute.
Yeah, okay.
But they didn't want to go that kind of language.
And then
and
one more
conversation.
little robot fuck up,
Okay.
as I like to call it. The end scene. They're in the refinery.
The foundry, yeah.
Yeah, the T-1000 has gotten a hold of Sarah Connor.
Why didn't he kill her?
Call John. What is the T-1000's ability again?
Complete mimicking.
Yep, it mimics and kills. Okay, so call John. No. Here. Alright, I'll call John, because I'm still capable of turning into Sarah Connor. Obviously, because I do it not 10 minutes
Yeah.
later.
Now, one could say when you watch the extended, you see how much the damage actually did to him.
But he
And
still managed to
He did.
turn into her. And
He
the
did.
only reason it didn't work is because John looked down, because there were two Sarah Connors.
he saw one that was fusing to the floor.
If he had just done his goddamn job, kill and mimic,
yeah.
he would have been able to get John closer to him, probably killed him. Turned his finger into a spike and sent it right through John's forehead.
And I
And then
agree.
told the Terminator, hey, good game. We win again.
Yep.
Just like we did in the first one, when we just
Yep.
killed everyone.
You could. I agree completely. Why didn't kill Sarah Connor? And that
Yeah.
was something I alluded to just before. It's like, well, he should have. He should have killed her, took on her form, and went after John. Even if he was malfunctioning, that was still part of his core tactic, for
Yeah,
programming.
that it was what he was designed
Of course.
to do.
Yeah, that's an issue. But let's take a quick step back to the beginning of the Foundry when first of all, liquid nitrogen freezes him,
And then
and then they shatter him with a grenade. Why not pick him up and throw him?
too many little pieces.
He wasn't in pieces yet. He was still pretty solid. Pick up the bulk of him, throw him in.
Why not just tip the vat over? You've got a giant metal man who knows he needs to die anyway.
Well, the vat was probably too far out where he can get to it. But still, pick up Metal Man who's frozen, throw the majority of them in there. You have some small pieces still. Start picking them up, throwing them in.
See, the humans were panicking. That's day one.
But the
You've
Terminator-
already blown him up, shot
Yeah.
him, killed him a million times. He comes back. He's going to come back from this. They didn't know how fast, and they got real worried.
But
But
the-
the Terminator should have been logical and went, well, if I just pull
him-
this down, because the heat was close enough to melt him.
Exactly.
So it should have been close enough to just break the wall down with your little grenade launcher, let it all pour out over him, and destroy him. And
Yep.
you're a Terminator, so you're going to kill yourself anyway. Oh, would have killed him?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's to my logic. But I think, do you have any others?
For Judgment Day, I mean, we could dabble into some stuff with Miles Dyson and Cyberdyne, but
Go ahead.
it's really just kind of repeat of the first movie with the whole police beyond it, but they were just doing their job. And really,
Yeah.
I mean, the only other point I could think of is the T-1000 getting the bike, getting the helicopter. Granted, the helicopter pilot was like, "Oh, I'm getting out of here," but the bike he took from a crime scene in broad
And-
view,
well,
and
and
no
the
one
car.
questioned, and the car, where the cop is, where the bike is. The car, not so much because it was a patrol car, so maybe he hadn't reported in, but they sort of started looking for him. But then again, he could have mimicked the guy and said, "Oh, I'm on patrol right now. I'm okay. I went home," or not.
Or the guy assumed somebody moved his motorcycle.
But the bike guy, he had pulled up. He's like, "Nice bike," and then it cuts, and later on he has the bike. Also,
Maybe he killed the cop.
Where'd he get the little submachine gun?
Oh, that might have been in the helicopter.
Is that standard issue in a police helicopter?
No, but then again, I don't know what is standard issue
Yeah,
in a
me
helicopter, but I got to assume maybe it was a private thing.
All right, yeah, okay.
You know?
I mean, unless you have anything else you want to throw out real quick, I think we pretty much had our fun with Terminator 1 and 2.
No, I think I'm pretty well good. I mean...
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and cut this off for now. We will continue part 2. We have Terminator 3,
Boogaloo.
Rise of the Machines, Terminator Salvation, and we'll finish off